Welcome to the heart of Glasgow, a city renowned for its rich history, vibrant culture and increasingly its focus on creating sustainable, livable spaces for all. In this video we're diving into one of the city's most ambitious urban transformation projects, the Avenues Project. The Avenues Project is reshaping how we experience Glasgow streets. This £115 million project aims to revamp key routes throughout the city, creating a safer, more enjoyable experience for cyclists while improving the overall livability of the city. Join me as we have a look to see the progress of this project so far. Work has started on the much needed Avenues Plus projects of Duke Street and John Knox Street. The Duke Street section will be from High Street to Belgrove Street, and the John Knox section will go from Duke Street to Wishart Street. This project will breathe new life into these streets and will include the planting of 30 trees. It also includes a bi-directional cycle lane on the south side of Duke Street with rain gardens that will create a buffer between traffic and pedestrians. On John Knox Street there will be a bi-directional cycle lane on the east side up to Wishart Street. This project will also improve the look and feel of an area that is currently undergoing significant development and the building of hundreds of new homes. This will also make it easier for people to travel to and from the city centre via this direct vital route, as well as creating easier access to the surrounding neighbourhoods. This work will be carried out by Rainton and Construction with a budget of almost £8 million. Long overdue is action to be taken to make George V Bridge safer for cycling and pedestrians. This is a one-way street that has 5 lanes for cars, one of which looks like a painted bike lane. The proposal will have a cycle lane on the west side and a counterflow cycle lane on the east side. This project will offer a barrier between cars and cyclists on the bridge as well as a dedicated light phase for cyclists at the junction with the Broomielaw. At 10 AM on January the 27th, 2023, 22-year-old Emma Burke-Newman was involved in a crash with an HGV. She was rushed to hospital after the crash but sadly died an hour later. The HGV driver admitted killing Emma by careless driving and was charged with 100 hours community service and banned from driving for a year. Glasgow City Council have posted on social media about these proposals, and some of the comments from people objecting to these plans have been utterly disgraceful. It's obvious that these people don't know the history of this area and how all cyclists that use this junction think about Emma as they pass through. One fatality is one too many, and the sooner Glasgow builds a safe, coherent network that everyone can use to safely get around, then the chances of fatalities like this one happening again can be greatly reduced. West Nile Street. Of all the streets in the city centre, I'm most excited about this one. I'm delighted to report that Glasgow City Council is proposing a cycle lane on West Nile Street. The proposal has a bi-directional cycle lane that crosses from east to west at Bath Street Junction. Anyone who cycles in Glasgow knows that this is the easiest to cycle up out of the 13 north to south streets in the city centre grid, as it has a gentle gradient. The problem all cyclists face on this street is that it can be ridiculously busy with traffic. The surface between St Vincent Street and Gordon Street is so bad that I would consider it a hazard for cyclists. It's one of the few north-south city centre streets that is still two-way for traffic. South of Gordon Street it becomes Mitchell Street and becomes one way from Mitchell Lane to Argyle Street. The proposed cycle lane will go from Cowcaddens Road in the north end all the way down to Argyle Street in the south. Cambridge Street is looking good with its defined split path from the Cowcaddens Road underpass that connects to Woodside via Gascue Road and the delayed next stage of this overground project. It's worth noting that the overground project is delayed due to the extremely expensive repair job that's been ongoing on the Woodside Viaduct. So back to Cambridge Street, and as we come up from the underpass ramp, there is a wide open shared space that gives plenty of room to avoid conflicts. People walking and cycling are quite good at moving around each other in these types of spaces. Let's take a look on Google Street View and take a moment to remember what used to be available for cyclists here. Probably the most dangerous green strip of paint that Glasgow had to offer. I used this once and that was enough. It started off well, but as I got halfway down the street I found myself completely surrounded by traffic with no escape. Someone who has never been on a bike in their life must have signed this off. This is the type of cycling infrastructure that drivers didn't object to, and you can see why, as it was a piece of road that could easily be ignored or easily be claimed by motorists when not being used by cyclists. Even though this is the type of infrastructure that should be consigned to the history books, it should be noted that poor design still exists in these modern projects, the sort of which can still put a cyclist's life in danger. This is why we should always give feedback to these projects by looking at the plans and imagining how safe you will feel using this infrastructure. This junction at Hill Street, as well as some of the junctions in Sauchiehall Street, are prime examples of where this type of design fails users. This project is phase 1 of the Overground Avenue project, and the next phase has been delayed after work on repairing the Woodside Viaduct found the bridge supports to be in worse condition than initially expected. Once this is complete, then work can start on the next phase of this project. It's also worth noting that Woodside Viaduct repairs are estimated to cost between 126 to 152 million. The Avenues project is estimated to cost 115 million. One of these projects will keep a flow of vehicles travelling through the city emitting poisonous fumes, as well as continuing the barrier of noise that disconnects residents in the north and west of the city, negatively affecting the health of so many for years to come. The other is part of a greater project and vision that will create an environment where people can safely choose a more sustainable mode of transport that contributes to a healthier population. This will also reduce traffic in and around the city by creating a fun and desirable alternative to car use for those shorter everyday journeys. Work started on the 13th of May 2024 on the south side of Argyle Street near the Kingston Bridge. This will go all the way to Union Street and will for the most part be a one-way cycle lane on each side of the road. This is part of an exciting link right through the city centre that will connect the east and west cityways. Key points of this avenue will be a clear marked segregated cycle route, raised tables at junctions with new signals for all road users, new street trees, rain gardens and planting, tactile paving and continuous footways. To say this street needs a cycle lane is an understatement, as when out looking at the work so far, this happened to me, and then a bit further along this also happened. So the quicker cyclists get decent segregation from motor vehicles, the better. As far as I can see, it's going to be a decent cycle lane, although I don't think these bits that slalom for no particular reason are a good design. This is definitely giving off a leaf walk vibe. The good thing about this avenue is that when completed you will be able to cycle directly into town from the West City Way without having to cycle up the steep climb onto the bridge that connects to Waterloo Street. Under Central Station at the Haleman's Umbrella, there will still be a counterflow cycle lane going west, but this will be segregated to prevent any buses driving directly towards you. There won't be a cycle lane going east under Central Station. Hopefully the traffic signal phase for cyclists on the road from the junction at Hope Street will have a pedestrian phase right after. This would give cyclists going east enough time to get through to the junction at Union Street. The Argyle Street West Avenue project is expected to be completed in late autumn 2025. During September last year, there was an online survey for the High Street Avenue proposals. On the initial plans, it was to include a bi-directional cycle lane on the west side from Glasgow Cross to Rotten Row. From here, it will climb up onto and along Collins Street, stopping for now at the junction with Cathedral Street. The plans have been taken down for now as the planners look at feedback from the survey. This survey could have persuaded them to change it to unidirectional. To do this, it would need to split at the Bell Street junction, then possibly merge again on the west side at the George Street junction. One of the more exciting things about this proposal is the plans at the Toll Booth steeple. This will make it more accessible to everyone and not isolated by a traffic island. Traffic will now be kept on the east side, with the west side being a more people-friendly space with benches, trees and a cycle lane. This is another great move by planners, as it will make this beautiful historic building more accessible for people to admire and enjoy for years to come. Sauchiehall Street first phase was completed in 2016 and was a pilot project for the Avenues project. This phase goes from Rose Street all the way to West Nile Street. This section was to be completed in November 2024. Unfortunately, there were unexpected changes to the underground utilities that became apparent halfway through this construction. This delayed the project as new plans had to be created for this section. Hopefully we will now see the project gain some pace. In my opinion, it feels good to stand in the open spaces that are complete. More businesses should open in the area as Sauchiehall Street becomes a desirable place to visit once again. It's disappointing to see scars left from where utility companies have been working in the past. As you can see, there are quite a few cowboy patch-up jobs in and around the street. The council should be on this straight away to charge these companies for the materials and repair. Apart from that, there is a better feel to the area and all it needs now is more people living, visiting and travelling through to boost the economy. There are good public transport links to Sauchiehall Street and with more student accommodation as well as apartments and hotels under construction nearby, this will help to put this great street on the map again for all the right reasons. The trees that were on Sauchiehall Street before were London planes. These trees were not growing properly as they should grow between 65 to 130 feet tall. If they had been planted properly in the first place, then Sauchiehall Street precinct would have looked completely different, with a larger canopy that would have looked really good in the summer months. The new trees that will be on the street will be all different varieties that will offer different colours throughout the season, and the good thing is that they will be put in place partially established so that we get to enjoy them from the get-go. Charing Cross underpass as part of the M8 motorway required essential maintenance. Transport Scotland, in partnership with Glasgow City Council, carried out this work between July and December 2024. This resulted in road closures and pedestrian diversions while the work was carried out. This was also an opportunity to rearrange the junction to make it more balanced and people-friendly, with a better pathway for pedestrians as well as a cycle lane through the junction that will connect Sauchiehall Street Avenue with St George's Road as part of the Connecting Woodside project. It has to be noted that work on St George's Road has been delayed due to the ongoing work on the Woodside Viaduct. Work is due to start on South Portland Street this February, and the project will improve the public realm by firstly calming traffic with the installation of 2 controlled junctions. There will also be seating installed along the length of the project as well as new electric vehicle charging points. Most importantly, there will be a 2-way cycle lane on the east side of the street as part of the slowly growing city network. On the south end, there will be a Cyclops junction on Norfolk Street. This project is part of an Avenues Plus project with funding coming from the Scottish Government via Sustrans Places for Everyone programme. Holland Street is starting to take shape, although it did seem a bit messy when I visited at the start of January. This project seems to be taking longer than you would expect, but it's worth remembering that this work is happening in tandem with quite a few buildings and developments that are being constructed on these blocks, bringing investment into the city. Between Pitt Street and Holland Street there is a Moda Living Rentals building named Holland Park. It looks like Moda Living have invested in the project as well. You can see this all around the building complex and especially on the cycle lane that's under construction on Pitt Street, as curbs and paving on this block look more aesthetically pleasing than the rest of the project. The cycle lane on Pitt Street is nearly ready to go, but it's probably best to keep it closed until all the building and construction work is complete on this street. The Broomy Law should be part of the George V bridge work and will have a bi-directional cycle lane on the north side. This will create what should be a safer choice for cycling along this part of the city. Making these core cycle routes feel safer for vulnerable people by offering a safer alternative choice to cycle on a well-lit path at the side of the main road during the darker nights of winter will only increase usage all year. Making your way directly to your destination can feel safer than having to wait at a quiet bus stop or train station late at night. Having the choice of knowing that your mode of transport is going to take you directly from A to B at a time that you decide at practically no cost is a freedom that only the bicycle can provide. As with the other Avenue projects, this will enhance the look and feel of the area for people who walk, wheel or cycle. And that's everything for now. Join me soon for the next video in this series as we take a look at Cowcaddon Road, Dobbie's Loan, the Inner North Network and the North East active travel routes. Thanks for watching and see you next time.